In 2003, 5 friends created what would become a media empire with just 3 words: red versus blue. 17 years later, none of them could have imagined the immense growth and opportunity that could come from a simple passion for entertainment and video games. But now, to some, that passion is lacking. Rooster Teeth, no longer an independent endeavor bought out by corporate giant Warner Media. And look, while some have said that this is an amazing opportunity for RT to grow into other entertainment mediums, to detractors, this has been a big selling out. Though in recent times, Rooster Teeth's new parent company, too, has been struggling. Reports are that Warner is looking at cutting thousands of jobs and reducing its cost by 20%. Not only that, but with recent scandals over at Rooster Teeth, employees dropping like flies, and a community now split, could Warner be eyeing the axe for this company? Let's lay out some of the evidence that I've seen both for and against this argument, starting with another company that also saw the Warner chopping block: Machinima. For the better part of a decade, Machinima was a powerhouse in entertainment. And like Rooster Teeth, it came from some rather humble beginnings, eventually becoming the second channel to ever reach 5 billion views. Their influence in the YouTube community was immense, being one of the first multi-channel networks partnering with over 5,000 creators. In fact, many of your favorite gaming commentators like CNanners probably got a little help at the beginning from Machinima, allowing YouTube creators for the first time to earn money for their videos. As they grew, they would branch out into some of their own original programming, such as Machinima Respawn and Inside Gaming, where we got to know familiar personalities such as Adam Kovic and Bruce Green. But listen, this only scratches the surface of their accomplishments. Now, looking back at Machinima, you see only a hollow shell of a bygone era on the internet. How could something so successful have ultimately gone bust? Well, as great as Machinima was, they ran into problem after problem after problem, beginning with someone named Ben. Known back then to the YouTube community as BRAINDEADLY, his name attracted some media attention back in January 2013 over contractual issues with Machinima. See, under the terms of his contract, Machinima was permitted to place advertisements on Ben's videos, and in return he would receive a percentage of the profits. However, this contract existed in perpetuity, meaning Machinima would hold the rights to any content published to his channel forever, a detail which Ben had failed to read. But you see, it wasn't just contractual issues that caused problems over here at Machinima. A bigger issue came when the Federal Trade Commission charged Machinima with failing to disclose that creator reviews for the new Xbox One were not unbiased reviews. In other words, they were actually paid advertisements for the gaming console, in which you could say nothing negative about it. Ultimately, Machinima settled with the FTC, but they were forced to disclose paid promotions from that point going forward. Something that honestly you see every day now on YouTube. But you see, it wasn't a lack of transparency or an inability to read the fine print that ultimately broke this camel's back. See, things really changed when Warner Media came into the picture. The entertainment giant, which had recently just acquired Rooster Teeth through Fullscreen in 2014, now had its pocketbook wide open to buy Machinima. A merger that at the time offered an amazing opportunity for Machinima to excel in a changing online landscape. Though to be clear, for years prior, Machinima had been receiving millions of dollars from Warner Media. This money used to accelerate growth in content and technology and to better serve the firm's advertisers, distributors, and creators. But only 3 years later, Machinima would be completely shut down. Why? Well, when running a business, you need to consider a few things. At Warner, you have many facets that make up your total income, from television shows to little media networks like Machinima. And they all cost a certain amount of money to run, and you hope that your investment will make you a hefty return. But for the less business savvy people like myself, let's dumb it down to Warner running a chain of massive bakery shops. And here at your local mom and pop, they are selling primarily 3 flavors of cupcake: chocolate, vanilla, and our new addition, spicy sriracha. For sake of ease, let's say that each of these cupcakes cost the same to make. However, our little friend here, spicy sriracha, only makes up for 10% of the business's total sales. And while it's garnered a dedicated fan base, it's not pulling the same monetary weight that these other 2 are. At least, not anymore. See, in this analogy, our sriracha cupcake here is machinima. There are some hardcore fans, but it's simply just not cost-effective anymore. So what does the owner do? Well, they simply plop this one right into the trash. And while I don't know the personal finances of Warner at that time, I think it's safe to say that machinima was not very profitable. Fast forward a few years, and there's a new cupcake in town, and its name is Rooster Teeth. See, at the time of acquisition, machinima was part of an old YouTube era, one where multi-channel networks were necessary for creators. But since that time, creators have constantly been moving away from MCNs, as YouTube has made it much easier to monetize your channels directly. And when Warner finalized its purchase in 2018, machinima seemed to be less integral than it was before. By 2019, machinima was escorted down to the chopping block and firmly cut short of its potential. At the click of a button, billions of views were gone, going defunct, 81 employees losing their jobs, the rest being absorbed into the growing adipose tissue of Warner Media. And like machinima, Rooster Teeth has been well funded by its parent company, Warner, to expand its reach, connecting with other online operations, pushing into larger mainstream outlets, and now is making moves on streaming sites such as HBO Max. But with recent events at both Warner and RT headlining the news, all of which I'm going to talk about soon in the video, is Rooster Teeth becoming a rusty anchor that Warner is just getting tired of hauling? Now that's one argument. Of course, on the flip side, Rooster Teeth is not machinima. Looking at Rooster Teeth's business model, a discussion of YouTube views seems quite odd. After all, they don't really make much of their money directly from YouTube. In fact, that's a big misconception for most creators. See, the company, as you probably know, has its own subscription service and deals with other larger media outlets. They're actually considered Rooster Teeth Studios now. One could argue that YouTube is just an elaborate advertising scheme to get people over from their YouTube to their .com, where there they can subscribe. While machinima and RT were both owned by the same corporate entity, they both had their own advantages and disadvantages. You could argue today Rooster Teeth has a lot more legs to stand on than machinima did. But look, some in the community are saying that Rooster Teeth would be better off leaving Warner Media altogether. But can they? Hey, remember that new cupcake in town? Well, it turns out Warner Cooking Company has bought out the mom and pop shop for a hefty price. And you see, Warner now owns 100% of these cupcakes. Though some people are saying that this new cupcake is worth up to $25 million. In fact, it's funny, that's the same estimate for what Rooster Teeth is worth today. And you see, ever since this merger started, people are saying that the bakery is just not the same, and that the mom and pop should just skedaddle. But being worth so much money, this small bakery can't just up and leave. So what can they do? Here's the options. This mom and pop could come up with $25 million and buy it again outright. Or if they don't have the money, they could try to find some investors. But either way, they can't just simply run away from Warner because they're under contract. So anyone that thinks that Rooster Teeth can just leave is simply mistaken. Even with that fact, the community over at Rooster Teeth is still very divided. And as they say, a house divided cannot stand. So can Rooster Teeth? Now, if you're a longtime fan of RT, you probably subscribed for their personality. Whether it was Bernie, Jeff, Adam, or Bruce, the identity that they brought to each and every show is what drew in the masses. I mean, ultimately, that's why Warner acquired them. They had audience. Though, is this audience at risk of leaving? Over the past few years, scandal hasn't been an unfamiliar word in their community. From poor intercompany working conditions to the recent firings of staff for extreme inappropriate behavior, employees seemingly just jumping ship left and right. All of these things have tarnished the Rooster Teeth brand, whether it was their fault or not. Even within Warner Media, the recent Ellen DeGeneres incident, which showcased executives' impropriety front and center in the news, caused a company-wide shakedown to occur, all the way down to Rooster Teeth. And after the whole Ryan Haywood and Adam Kovic thing, which I hate lumping the two together, I've seen a lot of speculation that Warner is just gonna straight up axe Rooster Teeth. So let's look at this. Some have actually offered a differing perspective on this controversy, stating that companies actually love this kind of attention. Even if some of the attention is negative attention, big companies most of the time don't care as long as it generates buzz. Now, there's an old saying, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Do you think scandal's actually good for RT? Let me know if you agree with this person down in the comments below. Though on the heels of the scandals, Warner is now setting up a massive restructuring, looking to remove 20% of the workforce, furloughing or getting rid of thousands of jobs from all departments. Who's to say some of them won't be from Rooster Teeth? In addition, Warner recently launched a streaming service, HBO Max, and this launch honestly hasn't gone that well for them. Warner is bleeding money, due partially to the slow launch of the HBO Max app, in addition to a slowdown of cable subscriptions. Where does this leave Rooster Teeth? Well, you see, they do actually have stake in HBO Max, so it could be more likely that RT moves into that section of Warner and away from where it's been on YouTube. Either way, we cannot discount the fact that people are just jumping out of this RT boat. A growing number of people, from community managers to founding members, have been throwing in their resignations, whether citing a move to greener pastures or potentially being pushed out for internal differences. Going forward, I think it's safe to say the old Rooster Teeth that all the OG fans fell in love with is probably long gone. But for Warner, RT offers a unique opportunity for them to stand out on streaming services. As you know, HBO Max competes with things like Netflix and Disney Plus for eyeballs, but neither of those are really offering much gaming content. Could RT potentially fill this void on HBO Max that it once made mainstream on YouTube? So what do you think? I'm gonna leave that one up to you. Remember, I'm Ryan, and I'll see you in the next video.